Everyone. I just got back from work a few hours ago, or an hour ago, rather. Um, so this is going to be the second video of my Wrenthock thing, and I originally recorded the other one several days ago. I'm going to put them up at the same time, so you'll see them one after the other, but these are several days later now for me, because the weirdness that is recorded timeline. Anyway, recorded time. Oh, yes. So I originally recorded it, felt it was kind of off, and it is a little. I'm teaching a lot, but I like what I said. And at first I was like, okay, I this is way too long and about the history of Wrenthock, and I'm just gonna have to squish it and like re-record and try to shorten it out. But really, I don't think I could. I watched it again with fresh eyes and was like, okay, yeah, no, that's good. And it really is it's the whole history of the planet. It's a broad topic. So I thought I'd gone off topic a lot more than I had, and I did, but it was actually a lot of very related things. So about the planet, kind of the basis of the planet. So I don't think I could shorten it that much. So what I'm gonna do is record the second one, and yes, I've already wasted a minute. Okay, sorry, my videos tend to go long. So Wrenthock, I was talking about Advemones, Advemones, yeah, that's his name. All right, and his place as the planetary governor, and how there was a cult of corn. I was talking about the cult of corn. But what happened was Advemonis fell to corn. He became part of this cult of corn. That's what happened. And he actually built, among other things, he had an arboretum. So basically, Wrenthock, about the year 300 or so. So okay, so about 100 years after the cultists started being cultists. And it went for quite a while with it just being like an imperial planet with a lot of issues and cults of corn and stuff. And none of the Inquisition picked up on it because there's so many planets in the Imperium and so many, whatever. It just stuff slips under the radar, and Wrenthock was one of them. And Advemonis actually lived that long because of if you're not familiar with Warhammer 40k, you don't know this, but there's a lot of in the 41st millennium, if you can afford it, there's a lot of life extending treatments that will let you live to 200 or 300 years old. And Advemonis was rich and well connected, so of course he had the treatment. So he was, which actually, sidebar, there is a treatment Wrenthock as well that does negate some of the effects caused by the particle that causes the Y sperm to die. But it is expensive, and it requires constant upkeep. So you have to get it every few months, or it just doesn't work. And so, therefore, only the really rich people can afford it, and rich people also have more opportunities to sleep with men from off-world. And, of course, because of the way marriage works, biological parenthood is, I don't know if I mentioned this in an earlier video, biological parenthood is not, fatherhood is irrelevant in determining social fatherhood. That is to say, if you're married to someone and she gives birth to a child, that child is your child, no matter what biology, no matter what, which I think we have several similar laws in parts of the United States, where if it's a child born in wedlock, then, you're legally responsible whether or not you're biologically had anything to do with it, because people are like, well, they're married. You signed up to death do us part with this person. So if she's giving birth to a child, it's your child. You are linked to her so intrinsically that, it can't be anything but, which I respect. And I think that's a very fair law. And I certainly would be very inclined to treat, if I ever say married a woman. I don't think I will, but I'm not completely opposed to the idea, but that's my own sexual life, but that's a whole other thing. If I ever did marry a woman and she had a kid, I would be, okay, yeah, that's my kid too. I'm married to her mom, like, okay. But that's neither here nor there. Point being, so a lot of women trying to have sons for social clout because of rarity will often try to seduce out of off-planet guys, but people on a higher social economic status have more opportunity to do so. So, and that combined with the treatment that allows for increase in Y sperm to like 1 in 5, which, as opposed to the almost 50-50 of most other men from most other planets, generally, and when I say men, biological men, obviously, who have sperm. That's what I mean. Um, it generally becomes families in the upper hives have more sons, and that allows the second sons to do other things and have more rights than men in the lower threes. But that's a whole other thing. Anyway, because of the treatment, the generic term treatment is what's considered for that, and the treatments, there is a technical term in the Warhammer 40k for the life extending treatments, but I don't remember what it is. Okay, I'm wasting more time in this video. But anyway, Advemonus, yeah, he became a follower of Khorne, and he was alive when this civil war hit, and it was 203, the year 203 of the 41st millennium, roughly. And he, well, also, as planetary governor, he had an arboretum. Now, this is important. It doesn't seem important, but it will become important. So there was a war. Basically, he began openly following Khorne. First secretly, then as he became more and more entrenched in his cult, he began openly. And there were enough people in Wrenthock who realized the danger and didn't want this to happen, who then incited a rebellion. Now, the Wrenthock rebellion, a rebellion against the planetary governor, usually automatically means you're an enemy of the Imperium and you can be shut down. But this case, they managed to contact the Imperium. So that's how imperial rebellions work. No matter how justified, if you rebel against a rightfully appointed planetary governor, you're automatically on the side of the heretics. And there are a lot of wars fought over just people who are rebelling, and a lot of them technically are backed by chaos, but some of them aren't, and some of them are just rebels, and they have to be killed off by imperial troops because to maintain order. I don't know about have to be, but they are, and it's a very tragic thing. But the people who were rebelling against the planetary government knew this, so they were like, okay, we need the Imperium on our side, or this is just going to badly for everyone. So they managed to find proof that their planetary government was worshipping Khorne and brought that to an Inquisitor, who then was like, okay. And so they got the Imperium involved on the side of the rebellion, which is very rare but does happen. So that allowed for some interesting things, and they had Imperial soldiers come in and help with the taking down of the planetary governor, and it was a whole full-on civil war. And that that full-on civil war was what led to a lot of things, and the complete restructuring of the Wrenthock government, and a lot of the current governmental systems were put in place there, and the business school system, which was kind of this weird cling to the patriarchy, where to kind of appease the male population and give them like a purpose and a proper place within society. And so they created this very defined set of gender roles as a way to pander to the male population as part of the thing. So it as to be kind of a way of making up for the fact that they didn't have power, hypothetically. I mean, and no man holds any political power in Wrenthock, other than being the deciding factor. So there's this weird notion of men as elevated heads of household, but no political power. So they're trying to even that out a little bit to try to create gender roles, because the originally enforced gender roles became important as that mismatch between the cultural zeitgeist of what gender roles meant and how society and monogamous relationships should work, and the actual practicality of the numbers and the way society was working. Because of that, that mismatch led to all these social problems. So people were like, okay, we need to create and enforce a brand new cultural zeitgeist that puts women and men and with very distinctive gender roles that fit our dichotomy, and then just go from there. And they did, and that is how Wrenthock became the current Wrenthock. But the one thing that happened during the war, and this video is also running long, but there's one thing that happened during the war. There were a bunch of Imperial soldiers who went after some of the more openly cultists of Khorne, and were fighting. The governor had an arboretum. The planetary governor, Advemonus, had an arboretum. Remember I talked about that? This is where it comes up. So a bunch of the cult that he was a part of had fled to this arboretum, and were pursued by a group of Imperial soldiers. Now, the exact name and nature of all the Imperial soldiers are lost to history, but there were two, Tandra and Alia. Now, their last names also lost to history, but they were They were the last two survivors of their entire unit, fighting off these heretics. And Tandra actually manifested a flaming sword of the Emperor to cut down a tree full of heretics. And that became this huge thing. And they both were later sainted, actually, Saint Tandra and Saint Alia, by pilgrims who felt that this was a sign of favor for the Emperor, and they were, went to the ecclesiarchy and made this case, and they finally agreed to Saint Tandra and Saint Alia. And the stump that Saint Tandra cut down with the flaming sword that she manifested from the Emperor is still there in the ruins of the governor's arboretum as a sort of memorial. It's kept in stasis, and pilgrims, if people can afford to, go to the capital to see it at Beldenhive, which is still the capital and was before the war as well. But this civil war was a huge thing on Wrenthock, and that is kind of why it is the way it is now. And that's the main thing about the Civil War. There are other, of course, historical factors, but this video is getting very long. So this is the basic history part 2, and the first was the setup of how it was settled. The second part was the war. I'll do other videos on Wrenthock. But yeah, more details from the governor, queer culture, which I've actually figured out a lot of things about recently. But yeah, so that's all for now. Love you guys. See you soon.